I want to make a big wall hanging photo backdrop for my Halloween party. Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to my sewing space. For the past 3 years, my husband and I have thrown a Halloween party at our house, and we're going to have one again this year. So I would really like to make like a ribbon, fabric, yarn backdrop, Halloween themed. I want to use some of the stuff in my stash. I have several white cotton sheets that I got from an estate sale, and I want to dye them black. And I've never dyed anything before, so we gotta go pick up some dye for that. Let's go see what the store has. Dye acquired. Let's change into something that I don't care if it gets stained. Okay. I wound up only dyeing one old sheet, and I also dyed one spool of old clothesline that I had lying around that I never got around to using. Ultimately, the dyeing didn't go great. The dye didn't soak into the whole sheet, which is fine for this project's purpose. So the supplies that I have for my photo backdrop are the dyed sheet, some purple netting, tulle, some orange satin, some silvery white satin, black blanket yarn, the dyed clothesline, also turned out gray, white not dyed clothesline, some orange yarn, this black furry yarn, black string, green yarn, gray yarn, white bias center facing, and some ribbon. Here's all the supplies. The only stuff that I bought specifically for this project was the satin. Everything else was either secondhand or already in my stash. I'm not sure if I'll use all of this, but here's what I'm working with. So then the question becomes, what am I gonna string all this stuff to? I'm seeing a lot of people, when they make their ribbon banners, they are stringing all of their strips of fabric and ribbon onto clothesline or some other rope. I forget who the creator is, and they use plastic snow fencing to hang their strips from. It kind of has a grid, so you can hang one strip from each part of the grid, kind of like if you ever did latch hook rugs. I used to do those when I was a kid. Same idea. First up, I'm working on my strips. So my sheet is about 8 feet long, and I'm ripping those strips into 1 or 1.5 inches wide. Cut the netting, the tulle, and the satin 8 feet long, the same length as my sheet, and about 1.5 inches wide. For my yarn, rope, and other strings, I'm going to cut at about 16 feet so I can loop them easily onto the fence. And I'm just measuring where 2 feet is on my arm here, and then measuring the rope 8 times to that spot, much faster than trying to use my measuring tape to measure 16 feet. Then I'm using the first piece that I cut as a guide to measure the other pieces. Then I'm just gonna put all my stuff in the storage container here and call it a day. Okay, so new day, all my pieces are cut, and my goal for the day is to get all of this stuff strung up. All right, first up, unrolling the fencing and tying it to a couple of chairs to help hold it up. And then to secure my strips onto the fencing, I just have the end of my strip here, and I'm snipping a hole into it near the top. Then I'm looping it through the fence. And pushing the other end of the strip through the hole, pulling it all the way through to secure it to the top of the fencing. And I'm just repeating that process along the length of the fencing, trying to evenly space the strips out. And I realized here that I could make this a little wider, so I'm just giving myself more fence to work with. Then I'm starting another row further down on the fence, moving along, continuing to add strips. And at this point, I'm starting to realize that I should have used pinking shears to get a more finished edge on my satin, because this is starting to shed and get really stringy and tangle, and it's turning into quite a bit of a workout. I changed my shirt because I got too hot, and then I changed again because I was still too hot. So at this point, I decided to trim down my fencing. And I'm just rolling up my project and putting it away. And I will string this up in the garage tomorrow and finish hanging the last of my yarns. To hang this, I'm hammering some nails into the studs of my garage. And then using the holes in the fencing to hang the banner up. This worked out really nicely as far as hanging purposes go, much easier than trying to use a clothesline in my opinion. However, look at this mess. Between too many layers on top of each other because of the grid and lots of unfinished fraying edges, this is a tangled mess. And at this point, I have definitely had it with this project. Okay, so I'm just adding the last of the yarns. I'm not even gonna bother with some of the strings and the ribbons. I'm done to the point that I'm going to do tonight. It looks cool. I feel like it's missing purple. So I'm gonna try and find some bright purple to string from this. Not sure where I'm gonna find that, but I am gonna look for it. And here's how we're looking at this point. I'm really tired of this project. This has been super underwhelming. So this is like day 4, I think, of working on this project. What a pain in the It looks pretty okay. It keeps getting tangled and it is driving me nuts. I should have either did just like one rope across, like clothesline, because there's multiple layers here. Not only that, but I didn't think that it was important to use pinking shears to help deal with like the raw edges on my fabric, and they just keep shedding and causing worse tangles. And not only that, but the tool and the purple net that I used are causing a lot of tangles, and you can't even see them that great. So It is not as bright and vibrant as I wanted it to be. So I went to the thrift store and I was looking for anything like bright acid green or purple, and all I could find was purple. It's either a curtain or a shower curtain. You can see through it, but it's gonna add some brightness. So, learn my lesson. I'm gonna use my pinking shears and throw some purple up here, and then I gotta trim up my ends so it's more even at the bottom, and then I'm done. And what a relief. All right, here we go. Looking pretty good. I don't hate it. I like it a lot. Let's test it out. Do you like my costume? My son let me borrow it. But anyway, I could probably talk about this project for 20 minutes and all the things that went wrong, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna just do this quickly and concisely in no particular order. Do I love it? Ultimately, yeah, it's pretty cool. Will I use it all the time? Whenever I have a Halloween party, I will put this up. In the end, it turned out better than I thought it was going to, especially after adding the bright purple curtain to it. It really brightened it up and livened it up a lot better. But would I ever make one of these again? Probably not. This was kind of a mess. A lot of it is the way that I went about doing it. First and foremost, shouldn't have used the fencing. I think that it was a good concept. However, all the layers of fabric on top of each other just created lots of potential for tangles and things getting knotted and caught together. So I would have just done a single strand of clothesline. If you don't do anything else, please, for the love of all that is holy, get a pair of pinking shears, and when you cut your strips, you cut them with pinking shears. Specifically, the satin shed so bad. I had satin fluff just floating through the air, like shiny fabric dust all over my floor. I probably should have worn a mask while I was stringing this up because it was just floating in the air. So the edges of all my fabric are super raw, like there's little strings hanging off all over, which is also contributing to all my strips getting tangled. The other thing that I would do, not use netting or tulle. First and foremost, you can't see it that well. And second of all, again, it's just more stuff that tangles easily and sticks together easily, especially the netting. The tulle's not as bad as the netting. Wouldn't have wasted time dyeing my sheet. It was fun. It was something new to do that I haven't really done before, but that was kind of a waste of time. I could have just thrifted a gray bed sheet from the thrift store for the same amount of money as the bottle of dye and just saved that white bed sheet for a different project. Anyway, if you've made it to this point, thank you for watching. To see more videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Bye!